That's where the trusted advisor comes in, that role. And it doesn't matter if it's an SE. Like I've switched from SE into sales. I'm still a trusted advisor for my customers because I put them first. And I don't try to sell. I'm not always be closing. I'm ABD instead of ABC, always be diagnosing.
My name's Mike Lander, and you're listening to Higgle, the B2B Sales Club podcast, where we bring you actionable insights about sales RFPs, negotiations, and difficult procurement discussions from sales leaders, brand leaders, and procurement leaders. Please subscribe to get updates when new episodes are released. Ramzi, thanks ever so much for joining me on Higgle, the B2B Sales Club podcast.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Now, I'm looking forward to this because I did one on your show a while ago. And when we did that, it became very apparent that your area of expertise and knowledge is transferable to my audience from a different perspective. And I always like to get people that have got different perspectives and see how it kind of like reads across into my audience of professional services, marketing agency people. So, without further ado, tell the audience who you are, what you do, and something unusual about yourself.
Sure. My name is Ramzi Marjaba. I'm a solutions specialist living in Ottawa, Canada. I permanently moved to Canada back in 2006 during the Lebanon-Israel war. I came by boat, not all the way, halfway. Well, not halfway even, to Cyprus. Anyways, so I've been here since 2006. I studied engineering, more specifically communications engineering, because I didn't want to talk to people.
Right.
Soon I found out that even if you want to advance in your career as an engineer, people are going to be in your way or they're going to help you. So you're going to have to make friends and learn to talk to people.
You are.
And since then I've been in sales for the last 10 years and I've been coaching solution engineers or sales engineers or pre-sales engineers, whatever you want to call them. I've been coaching them on their soft skills and making them better at helping their sales counterparts close deals and help the customers.
It's a brilliant example of how you take what people would see as a weakness or an area that you don't want to think about, the communication skills, and then through your role and through the nature of you're forced to talk to people, it becomes a superpower.
Yeah.
Because there aren't many people who have also... How many episodes have you recorded of your podcast?
Over 350 episodes.
Wow.
We the sales engineers... that's a shameless plug on my end.
Good for you. So it should be. Yeah. I'm a relative novice compared to you at 50 episodes. But apparently, if you look at the 3 million podcasts out there, I think 98% don't get past episode 10. Yep.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. And I got past it.
Yeah.
And so have you.
Yeah, exactly. Because we both like the format. We like this. We like having a discussion.
Yeah. Well, it's like anything in life. You have to try it for more than 10 weeks or something to be good at it and to see if there's going to yield results.
Correct. Exactly. Right. So let's get into the questions.
Sure.
So first of all, for people listening, some will be going, what on earth is a sales engineer? So what's the role of a sales engineer? How do they add value to the sales cycle? And obviously, most importantly, to the end customer.
Right. Let me define the process of sales. Like, what is sales engineering?
Yeah,
and
very good.
Then I'll talk about sales engineering. Sales engineering is the process of solving a business problem with technology. Not necessarily selling it at that point, but at least solving it, and hopefully, at least a sale. A sales engineer is the person who does that.
Yeah.
So when it comes to a technical product, especially like in the SaaS world or IT networking, generally speaking, the salesperson is too busy to actually understand the technology very well. They may have a good overview of what the technology does and how it solves problems, but not like what it actually does. And if they want to get into a technical conversation, they're usually out of their element. And that's where an SE comes in. So the SE is going to come and talk to the customers, and he or she is going to understand the actual problem. The business problem that is caused by a certain technology mismatch or gap that the customer has.
Exactly.
So
now, Ramzi, unusually, a friend of mine, so a shout out to Paul Maddox. Paul Maddox is a very, very rare character because he is not only an amazing salesperson, but he's also a fantastic technologist. He managed to get both skills in one person. So he does a lot of his own solution engineering with technical staff as well. But I find that's a very rare person to meet.
It is definitely rare. And the way I like to say it is a good SE has a lot of great sales skills.
Yeah.
And that one of the misconceptions about SEs is that, they're the technical person who's going to come and answer all your technical questions. Whereas the SE is a salesperson that happens to be technical and is able to work technically. And a lot of companies actually hire the wrong SEs. They hire them for their technical acumen, forgetting about their human acumen. If you will.
Their ability to communicate, to relate, to empathize.
Yeah. And that's where that theory about sales engineers or solution engineers are those people who just sit in the corner and wait till they're asked a technical question, and that's when they jump in and talk about things for half hour. The way we add value to a sales cycle, generally speaking, if we talk about the sales cycle, you have the salesperson who's qualifying the deal, and then there's a discovery call.
Yeah,
that's where great SEs can start adding value, because we're going to come in and actually do a proper discovery/needs analysis. We're going to ask the right questions based on our product strengths and what our products can do to uncover the business problem, and then start help building the vision for a future state. With a new technology stack that we offer.
Yeah.
And then we're going to, after the discovery, the selling starts. So we have to do a demo. And SEs can either do a great demo where they're telling the story, showing the value and helping the customer imagine what it could be, or they could be doing a horrible demo where they're clicking every button and showing features that may be useless.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That no one really cares about.
I had one SE friend who kept saying, this is a cool feature. And then he'd go in to talk for 20 minutes and no one would care.
No,
so
exactly.
It was cool for him, not the customer.
Yeah.
And then the proof of concept or proof of value pilots, if you want, trials. If it's a bad SE, this is where deals go to die.
Right.
If it's a good SE, this is where customers know exactly the value of the product.
Exactly. Correct.
And then after that, if the SE did their job properly, the salesperson has all the value, all the negotiation points that he can use, so that it's not a race to the bottom when it comes to price.
Exactly right.
And if an
in
SE
fact, in that proof of concept, I think we talked about this on your show, didn't we? Yeah, I've got a very strong view that if you run a proof of concept, whether you're in engineering or in professional services or any other business, if you're doing a proof of concept, which should be paid, not free, if you don't have success criteria in that proof of concept, there's no way that that's going to work in sales perspective.
Well, if it's, if we define a project, it usually has like a beginning and an end.
Exactly.
So when you're doing a proof of concept, it's a project. You have a beginning and an end. Yeah. You have milestones.
Yeah.
And you have success criteria. Like I even teach people to have escalation paths if they're doing something new.
Yeah. And
they want to bring something went bad because things go bad. Who are they going to call? Usually it's Ghostbusters, but that's a different story. Sorry. Couldn't resist that joke. And if you do this well, now the customer knows that this product is going to do what they want it to do.
Exactly.
Right?
It's going to solve their problem.
Yeah. And now when the salesperson comes to sell, the question is, well, we just showed you everything. Why are you asking me to reduce the pricing by 50%? Like, we just talked about it. It will save you X amount. It will reduce this headache or reduce risk, whatever the value is.
Improve efficiency, whatever it is. Exactly.
Yeah. So now they can go and say, this is the value that we bring. This is the price that we bring. And hopefully the price is less than the value.
Exactly.
Right? You don't want price over the value. So that's where SEs usually come in. And through that, the customers, we solve the problem. That's how we help the end customer.
And who, just out of interest, typically who are sales engineers engaging with in that cycle in terms of the customer? Is it their technical staff or is it a broad stakeholder group?
They're like, depends on the product that we're selling. The product could be something that sales would use. For example, if we're selling Salesforce, it's the sellers who are the end users, right? But SEs are going to have to work with IT to make sure that it is implemented. But they have to sell it to the sales team. So that's just one example. It could be a security product that will affect infrastructure, will affect the operations team. So we tend to work with more technical people. But like if we're selling DocuSign, it's going to be HR.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
It will depend on who you work with, like with the product you're selling and who's it solving the problem for.
Yeah. So the best SEs are partners with the salespeople.
Yep.
Salespeople recognize great SEs as being valuable in the sales cycle.
Some. That's a struggle sometimes.
Yeah, and customers see them as highly valuable because they've got that rare skill of bridging the gap between the business problem and the technical solution.
Yeah, yeah. So there's something that SEs struggle with is they're seen as a free resource,
right,
by the sales team and sometimes the customers. If the customer wants to do something, it's like, hey, SE, come and do it for me, or like I've had clients tell me like my salesperson wants me to build the proposal presentation, or they want me to go in and actually install an exe file on the customer's computer. And like that's not the best use of the SE's time. And the good SEs are able to actually help the salesperson, who I view salespeople as our customers, as much as the customer is our customer. Help them see our value so they can use us in the right way.
Yeah, precisely. Okay, so now we know what they are and where they add value. So we're kind of like, we're at base camp, which is good.
Yep.
If you now look at the successful traits of sales engineers and also the less successful traits of sales engineers, what are they?
They're business-oriented, thick skin.
Yep.
Because when we deal with human beings, they're not everybody's going to be nice.
Yep.
And when you're dealing with human beings and money, it gets even worse.
Exactly.
So they have to have thick skins. They have to be fairly technical as well. And they have to be able to communicate properly between technology and humans and know how to manage their time very well.
Yeah.
The less successful are more technically focused.
Yep.
Not thick skin, cannot manage their time, and need to be told they're not autonomous. Good SEs are autonomous. If I see a customer asking a question, I don't need my salesperson to come to me and say, Ramzi, can you answer that question? Like,
exactly.
No, it's my job. I can do things, and I think of it more as the CTO to the customer's CEO role within the sales team.
Yep. And also, I've got a slight advantage given that, as you know, I was an engineer, and then also I was an SE as part of the sales team at a company many years ago. My view was we had to be good at problem solving.
Yeah.
Because the nature of why the problem the client's bringing you in normally is, unless it's a like-for-like replacement, which is unusual, there's some technicality in the problem which is stopping them from doing it themselves.
Well, I think when you say engineers, generally speaking, that's what their role is to problem solve.
Exactly.
Now the complication comes is not only do I know how to solve the problem, I can convince the customer that my solution is better than the competitor's solution, better than their solution, and better than do nothing solution.
Exactly.
Because that's the biggest competitor for most companies, right? It's just,
absolutely.
Just do nothing. So that's where solve the problem, but also show that you've solved the problem in a better way than everybody else.
Yeah. And I think I'd also add to that, there's a brilliant guy called Brent Adamson and also Matt Dixon, Ted McKenna. Yep. They did a lot of research into selling, as you probably know, The Challenger Sale, the book The Challenger Sale they wrote, a book called Jolt recently. But I was emailing Brent the other day, and he was talking about this. One of the roles also as the sales leader is that you've got to help the client gain self-confidence that this solution is not only going to work, but de-risk their environment be super reliable, do what it says on the tin at the price we all agreed. Because there's a big body of research that says you don't get fired for maintaining the status quo normally. Yep. If you just maintain the status quo, you may not get promoted or get a bonus, but you'll probably keep your job. Not always, but probably.
Yeah.
If you make a decision to build something that's radical, but it goes wrong, the chances of getting fired are much higher.
Yeah. Well, and that's the reason that not one person can make a decision anymore.
Yeah.
The decision is made by committee.
Exactly.
And now they can all point fingers at each other. And I mean, it's the problem is that sales has such a bad rep that nobody trusts them. And sometimes it's rightfully so. Where the SEs come in, SEs are usually the trusted advisors. We can build the trust. And through that, we can give credibility to our salesperson if we think the salesperson is credible. I've worked with salespeople who were not credible, and I never gave them any credibility, and did my best to make sure that my customer gets what they need in the end. But I've also worked with great salespeople who I know have the customer's best interest at heart. And then I look at the customers, looking at the salesperson is like, why are you just asking for money?
Right.
So that's where I have to come in and say, like, all right, what my salesperson's saying, it makes sense, and I trust him. Do you trust me? Cool. Let's work on this together. And our job becomes not just convincing that one decision maker, it's convincing all 6 decision makers or whatever the number is.
Exactly.
In a way that's useful to them. Because if I'm talking to a user, his or her needs are different than the manager, who are different than the director. So you're selling to 6 different people in one sales cycle.
Yeah. And you're selling into a different perspective for each of those stakeholders. They've got different needs.
Yeah.
And therefore you need to adapt the way that you talk to them and engage with them.
Yeah. And something that I learned from a course, that solution selling in the book, is the pain chain, right?
Right.
The user's pain could be a reason for the manager's pain, which is different from the first pain. Like the user is working overtime. His pain is, or her pain is, that they're not seeing their family.
Yeah.
The manager's pain is my employees working overtime, so I have to pay them overtime. It's costing me money. Right. So you have to figure that out. And then when you're messaging with the customer, whether you're a salesperson or an SE, it's around that.
Yeah. Have you got any examples that you don't have to give the names of the brands, either the supplier or the customer, but any examples of where you go, here was a great example of how an SE worked with a salesperson with a customer in a tough environment to get to a satisfactory conclusion?
Yeah. I mean, one of the biggest deals I've had was I was working with a customer who used somebody else as their incumbent.
Right.
And they let us through the door. I'm not sure why.
Right.
So as an SE, my job is to figure out, why are they even talking to us at this point? And they didn't want to tell us. Right? Customers want to play things close to the vest.
Yeah.
They just want something, and they don't want to tell you why. So as an SE, I have more access to the customer than the salesperson.
You do. And you're less of a threat.
I'm here to help.
Yeah.
Right? Which allows me to go and talk to more people versus the salesperson who has to talk to the decision maker, right?
Yeah.
It's a one-to-one relationship, where an SE has one-to-many relationship. And then I can collect this information from all these different people so that I can share that information with my account manager. And through that, I was able to collect, like, why are they letting us in through the door? Oh, the incumbent is messing up in this area. So I go tell my salesperson, and then I go tell the professional services person who was helping us with this project. And it's like, hey, let's put all our effort on X versus we've been putting all our effort on Y, which is causing us to negotiate on price.
Yeah.
As soon as we shifted that, now that professional service was able to focus on S, we showed the value of the product, and the salesperson didn't have to negotiate on price as much anymore. But that's common. If you do that, it happens often. Maybe not to the scale that specific opportunity happened, but SEs are kind of intelligence officers for the salespeople.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's move on to the third question. Third question being, how can the sales engineer role type be adopted in other sectors, for example, marketing agencies, professional services,
right.
What can you read across from sales engineers into a different sector in terms of sales characteristics and solution characteristics?
So we just talked about some of the characteristics of sales, like problem solvers, trusted advisors, highly technical. Right? We just said trust, so we can build trust with the customers, build relationships. When you're talking to any customer, no one's going to buy anything if, one, there isn't a problem, or the problem isn't uncovered, and then there isn't a solution to that problem. So some of the things that SEs do are uncovering the problems and then offering the solution. And then the salesperson is the one who negotiates. Yeah. But in some of these marketing agencies or professional services, it might be the same person doing all of that. So in the marketing agencies, they have to uncover the problem. And if they have uncovered the problem, they have to convince the customer that it's actually a problem. If someone doesn't want to market because he or she thinks that they've reached everything they're going to reach, then it's the marketing agency's person to use the SE skills to highlight like how much you're missing out.
Yeah.
And create that fear of missing out. Right?
Yep, exactly.
Not
and so building that kind of diagnostic framework. So the kind of paid discovery. Yeah.
So we're doing the discovery. We're understanding. Well, one, if they're talking to us, there must be a reason. They could be. They think that they have a feeling there's a problem, but they don't want to face it.
Yeah.
But they just gave us a chance. So we have to be the doctors or the SEs, the trusted advisors, to show them that there is a better way.
Yeah. As a friend of mine says, a guy called Blair Enns, who's an amazing character, first we diagnose before we prescribe.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's something that we tend to sell on this first call. Like it's a pitch call, right? We're pitching, but what are we pitching for? I've actually had this conversation where I call a customer up and they say, all right, pitch me. I'm like, pitch you what? I don't even know what your problem is.
Exactly.
Let's talk about your problem. Why do you want me to pitch you?
Yeah.
Right?
Your leg hurts. Let's chop your leg off.
Yeah. There you go. That's a quick solution. Works for 99% of the people.
Yeah,
but I think it reduces the value, then adds value.
Exactly. Or maybe it's that your shoes are a bit tight. Go and buy some new shoes.
Yeah. Like, why are they hurting? Where does it hurt? Should we chop off at the knee or at the foot?
And some good old kind of like root cause analysis.
Yeah.
Yeah, going below the layers of the onion. Yeah.
The biggest challenge is, we all know that we're supposed to do root cause analysis. The biggest challenge is, how do we do that when the person we're doing the root cause analysis on doesn't want to share information?
Yes.
And that's where the trusted advisor comes in. Or
exactly
that role. And it doesn't matter if it's an SE. Like, I've switched from SE into sales. I'm still a trusted advisor for my customers because I put them first, and I don't try to sell. I'm not always be closing.
Exactly.
I'm always
Glenn Ross.
I'm ABD instead of ABC. Always be diagnosing, not always be closing. That's the cheesiest line I've come up with today. And, it's still early.
Let's see if it sticks. We'll find out. Yeah. Who knows?
I think I've heard it from somebody else though. So, like, these are some of the skills that everybody can use, and it's not just. I like to tell people, like, you can use this in your day-to-day life.
Yeah.
If a child wants some money from their parents, like, what's in it for them for giving them money? I'll stop nagging. I mean, that's my kids are doing that with a Nintendo Switch they're asking for.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
It can be used in everyday life. It's not just sales. I think everything is sales, it seems.
I mean, something else that I think that an SE, certainly when I was in that kind of role many, many years ago, and I'm not sure I knew about the model back then as I do now. But if you think about the second bounce of the ball or the third bounce of the ball, in my experience, very good SEs or very good people that are deep domain expertise, have deep domain expertise, and are very good communicators. They have the ability to think through, well, what happens next? And then what happens after that? And then what might happen at the end? And a customer often hasn't thought about that. And then you end up with, well, maybe that solution then isn't the best. Maybe there's an alternative we could try instead. Yeah,
100%. We've seen, like, we don't work with one customer. We work with many customers. And we've seen what they've tried.
Yeah.
And if they failed or if they've succeeded. And then we can use that information with somebody else. And that's why you're a trusted advisor.
Yeah.
Right? You could advise them on what's the
things.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I was talking to a customer about this literally, I think yesterday, was that I see hundreds of agencies. So when I see hundreds of agencies, I can aggregate that knowledge, anonymize it, and draw out themes. And those themes become valuable because that gives insights that an agency doesn't have because they don't see hundreds of agencies every day.
Yeah. And when it comes to sales engineering, the big difference between sales engineers and sales engineers are more collaborators. They work with other sales engineers. It's just by the nature of like their incentive pay.
Yeah.
Where most SEs are 80-20 split. So 80% of their salary is base, 20 is commission, 70-30, 90-10. So we're kind of employees and teammates who work together a lot more. So it's not, if you're seeing 100 and I'm seeing 100 and my friend's seeing 100, now we've seen 300 between the three of us and we're talking about it. Versus sales who are always like customer focused and leave me alone. I don't have time to work. If I'm talking to you, I'm not talking to my customers. So it's a different way of doing things. But that's where SEs like add value as well.
And I think they also, you're an inherent part of the negotiation cycle. Although they may not believe they are, a negotiation is a set of trades, or it should be.
Yeah.
And you're working out what the trade should be relative to the price.
Yeah. SEs, from the moment they open their mouth, they're either adding value to the deal or removing value from the deal.
Yeah.
Right. So everything we say can be used against us in the court of negotiation, I guess. But yeah, if we're showing the value, like I've had SEs say, oh, we don't do this very well, but we do that great. I'm like, all right, why did you say we didn't do this very well?
Exactly.
I mean, it's not up to you to say. You might think it's not very well. This is something I had to overcome when I was young. Our products are buggy. But our customers loved it, even though they were buggy. I hated our products because they were so buggy. And I projected that on our customers.
Right.
So I was removing value from the deal just by projecting.
Exactly.
Man, there's another bug.
Yeah.
But customers, then I had to think about, like, why are the customers continuing to buy from us even though we're that buggy? Yeah. Oh, because we're solving a problem. So how about you shut up about the bugs?
Exactly.
And focus on the problem.
Correct. Because we all know there are bugs. The customer does, we do, everyone knows. You'd have to point it out to them every day. Precisely.
Yeah. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a support team and there would be no job security for that support team. So I've got a question for you, which we clearly haven't prepared. This is just something that I just thought of just now to see where it goes. If you were parachuted in to a consulting firm, let's say the consulting firm sells strategy services, and you were parachuted in as a sales engineer with your huge background in sales engineering, what would you do to add value to that consulting firm when they're selling services, strategy services to their clients, just as kind of for kicks? Where would you start? I would start by trying to understand why the previous customers bought from them.
Right.
And what is the value that they bring and what are the problems that they're solving.
Yeah.
And then I'd go talk to the customers who bought already.
Right.
And the customers who didn't buy.
Yeah. Yes.
To understand why those who bought and why those who didn't buy. And I also would probably like to shadow a few of the sales teams.
Yeah.
Trying to sell it and see what kind of questions they ask. What I usually like to do is try to figure out what are the best ways to ask the questions to either qualify the deal in or out as fast as possible. And then focus on the value, right? Yeah. Ask the questions. I don't care what we call our service. And that's a lot of salespeople like, hey, use the name of the service or the product so that it gets branded. It's like, nobody cares.
No one cares. No one cares.
Just focus on the problem. Like, what is the problem? What is the value? What are the questions that you can ask to help the customer build a vision for the future?
Yeah.
Right. And what are we doing well? What are we doing wrong? There's a lot of things that we can do as, sales or SEs. Again, I see them as a holistic service, like one team.
It's like, Ramzi, when you obviously see in a lot of proposals, you probably write quite a lot of proposals or contribute a lot of proposals. So having been on the buy side a lot at some scale, the thing that used to drive me mad was you get a proposal and it's like, right, I'm going to receive 7 of these because we've sent out this kind of RFP.
Yep.
I'm going to get 7 back. So a really easy kind of acid test for any proposal for me was, number 1, is there an exec summary? Because I can give that to my CFO or my CEO. No exec summary is like, well, you're already off to a really, really, really bad start.
Yeah.
And the second one was, if the first 10 pages are all about you and your business and what you do and how brilliant you are, I'm bored. I've lost interest. I've moved on.
Yep. It's funny. We do a lot of meetings, right? Discovery meetings, second discovery, third discovery demo. And I see emails from SEs. We showed you this. We did that. You said this. And all that is kind of useless because they were
correct. Exactly.
The point of a follow-up meeting is to, again, talk about how we can help them. And not just them. I want the customer to be able to hit forward and send it to whoever it is that they want to send, and they will be able to understand exactly what we've done to help them or how they could help. Versus having the person let's say it's our champion. Now our champion is going to have to go through this email, and then he or she's going to have to write the executive summary to send it. Yeah.
Why would they're busy people? Why would they bother?
They wouldn't. They would just forward it, and then that's where the deal went. It ended there.
Exactly. It died in the graveyard of too long, didn't care.
Yeah. Or even if it's too short, no value.
Exactly. Either too long, didn't care, or too long, didn't read, or it's too short. You absolutely didn't understand our problem, didn't understand the value creation path or the waterfall, as we've talked about before. And so therefore, again, it's gone to the graveyard.
Yep.
So, Ramzi, this has been great. It's exactly what I wanted it to be, what I thought it would be, is you bring a really interesting perspective from a different world. But the parallels are instant to consulting, marketing services, all sorts of areas. So thank you for joining us.
It is my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me on this call.
It's been really good. Ramzi, where can people find out more about you?
I'm at wethesalesengineers.com. I'm also on LinkedIn, Ramzi Marjaba. Yep. If you can spell my name right, that will be an achievement. Marjaba and Ramzi with Z-I, and Ramzi.
Just say that once more, slowly, so that people pick it up.
See, that's a bad SE job on my end. So Ramz or Z-I, if you're from the States. And my last name is Marjaba.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Ramzi, it's been amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I enjoyed this call.
Thanks for listening to Higgle, the B2B Sales Club podcast series with your host, Mike Lander. Please subscribe so that you'll catch all the next episodes.